Do you know why we celebrate Halloween? A long, long time ago, it was a night of great power. When the days grew short, all across the land, huge bonfires were lit. Oh, there was a marvelous celebration, and they dressed up in costumes, hoping to ward off the evil spirits, especially the boogeyman.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Welcome to our new podcast about radical feminism.
That's exactly what it's coming. Exactly. Stick by your phones for that one. Good times. This week, we'll be discussing the horror classic. It is called Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. You know it, don't you?
AKA Halloween 6.
I thought it was called Halloween 6. There is no 6 anywhere in the title. It just says Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Very upsetting.
It was the curse on all of us.
It was a pox upon both your houses.
Exactly. And your house, and anyone foolish enough to watch this.
It is a damn horror travesty. Aaron, go ahead. I know I inflicted this on you. We wanted to do a specific Halloween movie to celebrate Halloween. It sounded like a good idea at the time. Wah, wah, wah. Aaron, give us your 30-second synopsis.
First of all, had you actually seen this movie previous to recommending it to me?
I believe I saw it in like 95 or whenever it came out, and I have not seen it since. And I wouldn't say
you were like,
recommended
that's
it.
The best show ever.
I don't think I said I recommended. I just said, here's a Halloween movie.
You just said, I will inflict it. Is that what you said?
That's what and I knew this one was kind of a train wreck. I think I'd rather, you want to pick a train wreck rather than kind of boring and worthless in my mind. So that was my thought process. Little did I know the horror that were awaiting us.
Well, let me just go ahead and give you my review.
Please.
Apparently, Michael Myers is involved in some kind of Aleister Crowley sex cult with the Rothschilds and all the Illuminati and the Vatican.
Yeah, George Soros.
Where you're and the Clintons and Joe Biden.
That's right.
And and Bill Gates. Let's not forget that.
Out.
By the way, I forgot where I was driving yesterday, and I was going to Trader Joe's at a giant pick-em-up truck, like a Ford 250, whatever, and a giant queue on the back window with a white rabbit. I was like, oh, it's alive and well, my friends, and shopping at Trader Joe's. That sounds very bizarre.
Q likes good food too, though. I mean, So there you have it. Yeah.
So anyway, as I was shopping with Q and the rest of the Michael Myers sex cult, apparently part of their magic is you got to concentrate all the Myers juices by having incestuous sex to bring forth, I don't know, the Antichrist baby, which then you deep fry and gobble up with the rest of all the Democrats. Anyway, someone slips the baby loose, and Mike wants his progeny back. So progeny back. Death, crunch, crunch, crunch. This was a very gory thing. In the end, Michael Myers loses? ?
There's a big question mark at the end.
So the end. I was like, okay, so now we did the baby's born. I killed the mother, who was trying to give me a hug, I guess. And then the whole rest of the movie is trying to do some stupid running away or hiding from a teleporting Michael Myers. Boom.
This damn movie. It is unintelligible. It is ridiculous how awful.
My son told me that to understand it, I would have had to watch the one in front of this, where we established the weird thorn sex cult.
Oh, no. I mean, okay. We got to talk about the freakish Halloween timeline. Okay, this is important. Okay, 1978, you got the original classic, John Carpenter, right? It establishes Michael Myers, Dr. Loomis, Laurie Strode. We all know that good stuff. Then a few years later, they did kind of a cash grab. John Carpenter talked about how he wrote part 2 like half in the bag, basically. And his kind of, I don't know what to do, kind of passing out at the keyboard was say like, hey, Michael Myers and Laurie Strode are actually brother and sister. That's the grand reveal. We didn't, even though they have, Laurie was adopted by the Strode family as a young child and has no memory of anything else.
So that's after Michael went into the institution?
Yes.
So they're not blood relatives.
They are blood relatives. Yes.
I think adopting does not make you a blood relative.
No. Laurie Strode was a Myers when she was adopted by the Strode family after, I guess they had another child and then put her up for adoption after their male child murdered their older sister. Is basically what it is.
Okay.
If you're having trouble with this, get ready, buckle up. So that takes place in the hospital, blah, blah, blah. Then they realize we have nothing else to get from this storyline. Let's do Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. That has nothing to do with any of it. Big mistake because it was not a big hit, although it is a personal favorite of mine, and we can talk about that.
It is.
So then,
compared to this, it is a classic up there with Rosemary's Baby.
It is basically Lawrence of Arabia compared to this.
Craptastrophe.
You better believe it. So about this time, Jason Voorhees is now all the rage. So the producers are like, bring back Michael. I don't care. I know he blew up in a fiery, explosion at the end, along with Dr. Loomis. Bring them both back. So they do Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. And Dr. Loomis survived. He has a scar on his face, though, from the explosion. Michael Myers also survived, a couple burns on his hand because you never see his face again. They come back to Haddonfield, but Jamie Lee Curtis is like, I am a quasi-celebrity, big star at this point. I'm not coming back for Halloween 4, kiss my butt. So they kind of throw a...
I'll come back for Halloween 11 in 2020, though.
Reversal of fortune, let's just say. So they say, they have a throwaway line where they say, Laurie Strode died in a car wreck. She's no longer with us, but she has a bastard child, Jamie Lloyd, played by young Daniel Harris. Jamie Lee Lloyd. And she's like living with an adopted family, has an adopted sister. But now, around this time, they start to establish what they call the cult of Thorn. They're like kind of references.
Literally, Kevin, this explanation is just sending me into a coma. I'm always like,
ready. We're not even halfway home yet. So get ready. So Michael Myers, it's now established, is after the Strode Myers family. Like, he's out to kill his relatives. Where in the first movie, he was just like, any babysitter I happen to see, I'm going to kill or whatever. Now it's, I'm after my family, but if I have to kill a few other randos along the path, I'll do it. But I'm really after my family.
But while making his own family, he's killing his other family for what end?
Okay, get ready. So now it's Jason.
Right. Buckled up.
Keeps calling him.
Buckled up.
I keep calling him Jason. It's now Michael is going after Jamie Lloyd. And at the end of part 4, they establish, Jamie Lloyd is now possessed with the ghost of Michael Myers. Like, she's wearing the little clown outfit that young Michael Myers wore when he murdered his sister. And now she's like coming after Dr. Loomis. And
it's nice that the family decided to hang on to that costume.
That was nice. Sweet Jesus. Part 5, okay, the whole family is dead. They, except for Jamie Lloyd, who's in an insane asylum, but still wearing the little crazy clown costume for some reason. Michael's back, killing more people. They arrest Michael at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, but then a man in black wearing a black hat and a black duster shows up with a machine gun and rescues Michael and kidnaps Jamie Lloyd from the police station. And that's
So why did Michael kill him? Since he seems to be just a deranged lunatic. He's like, okay.
Hey,
come on over here. We're going to have sex parties. All right.
So part 6 which it was called The Curse of Michael Myers by literally the screenwriter because of the production difficulties. Seriously. So at this point, they're trying to tie along loose ends, but this is literally like 8 years or something after the previous sequel. Okay. Donald Pleasance is 1 foot in the grave and in fact dies after principal photography, but before they have to do the reshoots because of bad audience reactions, which is why it is totally unintelligible. At this point, it's a cult of people whose goals are very impossible to understand. They don't really go into what their goals are, except to say,
clearly the coronavirus vaccine.
That is absolutely correct. So it starts. So the girl who's having the baby is now Jamie Lloyd from the previous new movies. Now she's a little bit older. She's child rearing age, I guess, at this stage of the game, played by a different actress, and we're going to talk about that. And you're right, she's impregnated off screen, thankfully, by her uncle, Michael Myers.
I don't want to think of Michael Myers having junk.
I
assumed he was smooth like a Barbie under there.
This is like straight up VC Andrews is what we're dealing with right now. And there is some kind of
flowers in the attic. Instead of flowers in the attic, it's Michael Myers in the attic.
That's exactly right. So there's some kind of weird thing where it's like he goes and tries to kill his relatives. So very early on, he kills Jamie Lloyd. Spoiler alert. And now he's looking for his son, who he also wants to kill. And there's some reason why this is important to the cult. Like, Michael is basically, he has no agency in this. Like, he has to kill his blood relations for some reason.
Well, it's something he likes to do. It's a hobby of his. So if you can do that and be part of a club at the same time, why not?
Right. That's exactly right. So there's a point in the movie where the woman, whose name I'm not going to look up, the main female character, jumps out the window at this to escape from the cultists. This is when the original screenwriter says, this is when the movie also takes a dive. Because at that point, basically they tossed out the original ending and had to make up something, but they didn't have Donald Pleasance anymore. Which is why in this movie, Michael Myers and Donald Pleasance never meet at all. And it ends with the crazy scene where Paul Rudd, yes, Paul Rudd is in this thing.
Who looks about 12 years old.
It's kind of weird how young he looks.
And his acting style is exactly the same as current day.
It is. It's great. So they get in the car with her son, who also has a touch of the psychoticism inside of him.
I was going to say autism.
We're going to talk about, because it makes the other kids' issues make no sense at all. But anyway.
Also, why is he wearing black eyeliner?
It was the style. He's a big Cure fan. So they drive, and Donald Pleasance is like, I have to go back inside. I have unfinished business. See you later. And runs inside. And then it's just kind of a weird pan over the city. And you hear Dr. Loomis screaming, ah, and that's how it ends. Because they didn't have any more Dr. Loomis. Okay. That's the end of the initial timeline. Okay.
All right.
But we're not done yet. A movie came out 4 or 5 years later called H2O, Halloween 20 years later. And this did bring back...
I think I saw that.
This brought back Jamie Lee Curtis, but what they did, because again, Jamie Lee's dead in a car wreck as of Halloween 4. At that point, they said, we're going to disregard everything after Halloween 2. So it goes Halloween 2 to Halloween H2O.
No more blood sugar sex magic.
No.
Is that what it is?
They said, we're going to get rid of all the cult stuff, but we are going to keep the brother-sister thing. Okay? That was basically their attitude. So
the Let's Get It On brother-sister, VC Andrews, or the Unholy Baby?
No.
What
that
is
Michael is her brother. That's what they're keeping. They're not focusing on any incest, thankfully. So they made 2 more movies, Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection, that followed this new timeline. Okay?
Oh my God. This is like Marvel.
Oh, it's horrible. So then that's over. And they're like, well, let's reboot it with Rob Zombie. So Rob Zombie disregards all the previous movies, including the original classic, and starts over. Rob Zombie's Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which...
So is that the one that came out last year?
No, that's the one that came out about 15 years ago.
It's another reimagining.
It's another reimagining. Remember, the early aughts around 2005 were a lot of reimaginings. You had the new Friday the 13th, the new Nightmare on Elm Street, the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where it was like reboots for all these things.
Right. Why come up with something new when you can just crank out the old shit over and over and over again?
That's correct. So they made 2 disregarding all the previous movies. So that's a new Rob Zombie timeline. Then in 2000,
I don't even know if I even saw.
No one did. Well, I shouldn't say that. There are people who swear Rob Zombie. I simply swear at Rob Zombie.
There you go, you bastard.
Thank you. So 2018, they made the new movie Halloween, which disregards all the movies except for the original. So it's a direct sequel of the original. So it ignores that Michael Myers is her brother. Now it's back to he's just a killer on the loose. He's not targeting her specifically. He's just a shark in, blood-infested waters.
The water has been chunked.
Right. So it's more her kind of traumatized by those events, and she's going after Michael Myers. It's kind of a role reversal in a way.
Radical feminism. She's taking back her power.
So there you go. If you're still with us, that's the horrific timeline of the Halloween movies.
It actually made my head physically hurt listening to that. I'm going to come and say Halloween 1. That's all you need to see.
And that's all you need to know.
That's it.
I agree.
Indiana Jones 1. Nightmare on Elm Street 1. Yep. Friday the 13th 1.
Whoa. Let's not be too hasty there, Sailor. What are you saying to me? No, I typically, this is what I will say. Halloween 1 is the immortal classic. Absolutely. Beyond repute. It is dynamite. Halloween 2 it's okay. It's nothing special. Halloween 3 is, of course, the immortal classic as well. No question. 4 is better than you think, and the rest of them, I could take a flamethrower to them. Truly. They're not, especially starting off with this movie that we're going to talk about right now. This should be at the front of the line of the firing squad. Horrendo.
Let me just tell you this. You always talk about how you fall asleep at the movie. I actually fell asleep for the first time. And I fell asleep hard. My son was next to me, kept trying to wake me up. And I'd look at it and immediately fall.
Just shake you. It was Come on.
I was like, I literally had to rewind and kind of go over the whole middle of it again, much to my chagrin.
No, truly, they will all say, the people in charge will tell you the 2 biggest mistakes the Halloween franchise took was, number 1, the brother and sister angle. Because then because remember, in the first movie, Halloween, he was evil. There's no explanation why. It's nothing personal. He is just, like we said, he's just Jaws. Roaming the streets of Haddonfield, essentially.
Right.
Right. Moment you add that kind of motivation, then it's less scary in a way, and it's almost like if I don't hang out with Jamie Lee Curtis, I'm cool. Basically, I'm saying.
I mean, I like the punishing of the bad babysitter. That's all fine.
Yes.
I mean, that was at least kind of interesting. Yep. I'd rather just talk about Halloween 1 with PJ Souls.
Of course, and the gang.
And the Cool and the gang. Absolutely. But I guess we need to talk about this. Did you think it was... Let me just jump into this damn
Go
thing.
for it.
So they're listening to talk radio late night, as one used to do 100 years ago. And then
Loveline or whatever.
It was Loveline with Dr. Drew. I used to put my baby down and draw pictures in bed and listen to Dr. Drew and Ricky Rack.
Right. The original.
That's how, but the original. But anyway, they're listening to some call-in thing talking about Michael Myers. And Paul Rudd is listening to this because Paul Rudd is the little kid that Jamie Lee Curtis was babysitting?
Yes. He is the little boy that she was babysitting in the original movie, and he's been so traumatized by those events that he's almost seems kind of serial killer-y himself, frankly.
Exactly. He just stands in a window staring at people like he's gonna masturbate as you walk by.
As one does.
It's terrifying.
Yep.
And the one thing I wrote down is people are calling in, as they do with serial killers. You know, all our serial killers always get married in prison. And some crazy lady called in and says, I love Michael Myers. He's so untamed. He's everything I've ever wanted in a man. I was like, what? I mean, Ted Bundy and all these people at least were human and could speak. This thing is just like, it could be an animatronic robot with a stab complex.
That's right. He's not going to talk your ear off.
It's everything I've ever wanted in a man. He walks up to me and pops my head off. It's a dream.
That's what I was looking for goodness sake.
Good Lord. I literally only wrote like one page, and most of it is I fell asleep. Paul Rudd is a baby. Oh, Paul Rudd looks like he's never held a baby his entire life when he holds the baby in this. It was quite amusing. It was like, what is this thing you've given to me to hold?
I'll tell you what, they went out of their way to make him as peculiar as possible. He's constantly a hunched-shouldered, lurking around like Shaggy in the Scooby-Doo or something.
He needs like a gamey leg that he can drag behind him, like Igor.
Is that too much to ask? That's all I'm saying. I love there's a scene where the sensitive midwife, I guess, who helps Jamie and the baby escape at the beginning of the movie. And Michael grabs her, picks her up, the midwife now, and he looks around, and there's literally a lone spike sticking out of the concrete wall for no other reason except for squishing her head popping.
Yeah.
It's like, thank goodness.
I guess I could have hung up my coat, but instead I'm going to hang up the midwife.
As one does, for goodness sake.
Is she not part of the cult?
She is. I guess the idea, and that's the thing, the insane asylum from the first movie, okay?
Right.
Just a kind of a normal place. We see it in broad daylight, although there is that scene where when Michael escapes, they're the crazy people like wandering around in the field in the rain or whatever.
Right.
But now it's like the home of this cult, where like evidently everybody's a card-carrying cultist for some reason. I guess the idea is she's the kind cultist who's like, hey, I was cool with the kidnapping and the murder, but now the baby, you're going to mess with this baby? I can't have it. So I'm going to help her escape.
What are they trying to do with the baby? That's what I don't understand. Are they going to deep fry it and take a bite out of it? They're going to make a po' boy sandwich out of it? Is he going to be the new Michael Myers? What the hell was the baby? I don't understand.
There are no answers.
All they did was they painted the baby with some Kool-Aid with their weird symbol on its belly, and that's
correct. That's basically. I think what we're supposed to think is that Michael was supposed to kill the baby. That was what was supposed to happen.
Then why does he keep saving it? As soon as he gets his hands on it, why doesn't he pop it like a grape?
That's a good question. I'm not the screenwriter. Look, I'm
not sure there was a screenwriter.
I think there was supposed to be a grand reveal that shows all the plans of the cult, but it got a poor. Okay, first of all, we have to say we watched the theatrical cut. This is the version that people saw in the theaters. A few years later, they released what was called the producer's cut, which was the original cut of the movie.
I've never heard of people releasing a producer's cut. I've heard of the director's cut.
Well,
What about the Best Boys cut? What about the Gaffer's
the key grip?
cut?
Yeah, he needs to help out.
The food services cut. How about that?
Okay. The screenplay was written by somebody who evidently was a student of these films. Had accumulated a binder full of information and had written one that kind of ties all the disparate parts together.
Maybe they should have waited till he graduated and wasn't still.
That's good. The director basically was like, I only took this job for the money. I hate these movies. Whatever.
Well, that's a mark of quality.
That's basically what it was. So they followed the script, I guess, in general. But then they showed it to a test audience who I guess they said was made up of mostly 14-year-old boys. And they hated the ending because there's a lot of kind of culty thing where it's like somebody is now possessed with the rune of Thorn or whatever it was. They didn't like it. So they immediately went back and refilmed basically from scratch the last third or quarter of the movie, but it is totally incoherent. It's like literally they throw aside their robes. At one point, the guy who plays the head cultist, who's also like the chief psychiatrist at the asylum, he says something like, "Take off those robes. Halloween's over." He literally, because that was in the new thing where now they're talking about some kind of, there's a medical reason behind all this. We're going to find the formula, and they don't elaborate what it is that they're looking for or what exactly they're trying to do. I can't even describe it. It is ridiculous.
It's a craptastrophe.
It is literally a craptastrophe. Oh, sweet Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, let's talk about some of the characters in it. There's the lady who has the son, who we think is Spectrum-y with the eyeliner. She appears to be about 40, yet is in college, living at home with her parents.
We have to talk about this because this was totally made no sense as well. She is, I guess this family are the brother of Laurie Strode's dad in the first movie. Okay, so this is like, I guess these are the cousins of the Strode family that we'd met in the previous movie, essentially.
See, now we're over. We got cousins. Right. We got third cousin twice removed.
Yes.
We got dad's golf
Yes,
friend.
We do. What?
We got the Avon lady. Come on,
so
man.
He's a realtor just like the brother was in the previous movie. Because if you watched Halloween lately, Laurie's like supposedly dropping off paperwork because they're trying to sell the old Myers place in the first movie in 1978. So now, 18 years later, believe it or not, having trouble selling the old Myers place. So they're now forced to live in the Myers place.
They sold the Amityville Horror House, no problem.
Well, they're having trouble. And evidently, they're not just like selling it for some third party. They, I guess, bought it and are now stuck with it. So they now have to live in it for some reason. So
that's like all those movies. They never want to move out of their murder haunted bloodlust houses.
Well, it's white privilege to suggest I can just pack up and leave whenever the going gets tough. Some people don't have that disposable income. Most people are one paycheck from homelessness.
Kevin, you're so
That's right. So, okay. So the daughter of this family has come back, we presume, from college with a 8-year-old bastard. We don't know who the father is, what the significance of all this is, but this kid shouldn't be a blood relation to the Myers at all, unless she had the affair with Michael 8 years ago and they didn't mention it, right?
And I would say this is the most fit Michael Myers, where clearly he's got padded shoulders and a tight waist. He's half a Superman.
Well, it depends, because there were two different Michael Myers, one of which has a little bit of a boiler downstairs. A sad situation, depending on the reshoots. So, but there's scenes with this kid. Now, this isn't the baby that they rescued. This is another random elementary school age child.
This kid was super irritating.
He's hearing voices, like
he's grabbing
knives.
It's
for no reason. Like there's no reason why this kid should have any, unless it's just a bizarre coincidence. He's also got a touch of the psycho in him, basically. Just, you know.
And he's not a listener. I was like, when you tell your child to stay put and instead leaves to go over to the murder house with Michael Myers, I gotta say, well, I guess my job here as a parent is done, because now it's natural selection.
My blood is tainted, is basically what I'm trying to say. It's a sad situation.
I'd be like, now if I have to go over there, then we're all just gonna die. Sorry, son. I guess you should have listened to mom.
So, Jamie Lloyd, escaping from the cult, she meets some trucker who's just having a beer in the rain. Did you notice that? And she steals his truck. He's like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, I want to sit in the rain drinking my beer. What? What are you doing? Of course, he gets killed by Michael. Head pop. And then she is now being chased by car by the cult. And they just drive up next to her, kind of bump her a little bit. And then she's like, she doesn't have any brakes or something. And she just slams into the pumpkin patch. It's a horror story. We don't know what's happening. It's a freak show.
I don't know what's you could say that pretty much through this whole thing.
We don't know what's happening.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. Who is that? Why did they do that? I don't know. What's going on?
So she makes her way to the bus stop and doesn't call the police, doesn't call the FBI or some kind of law enforcement. She calls Ricky Rackman for some reason to just, hey guys, I escaped from Michael's clutches and I'm here with my baby. Anywho.
Hey, Ditto. Hey, is this Rush?
First time, long time. Yeah. And then the reveal is that because Michael catches her and kills her on some kind of thresher of some sort.
Oh, yeah. And then first, I was like, I don't even know what this equipment is, but she's impaled on it, then reaches out to give him a hug. Is that correct?
I don't know what the hell. Okay, again, I don't know what was happening.
Hands are out. It was like, give me some sugar, bro. We can still do it one more time.
Hit me, baby, one more time.
And then instead, he just shoves her all the way back and then turns on whatever weird machine.
We don't actually see what the machine does. He could have just been turning on the lights or turning on. We don't know. He just reaches up, hits a button, and you hear a noise, and that's ball game.
So he was not a hugger.
Not a hugger. But the reveal is she left her baby in a cupboard in the bus stop bathroom overnight.
Yeah, all aboard Greyhound. That baby would have already been sold for crack. It would have been sex trafficked. It would have been on the dark web. It's on its way to some Eli Roth hostel.
That is correct. Well, and that's the thing. It's literally broad daylight. Paul Rudd is now on the case, as they often are. He goes and is like, there's a weird blood trail through this brightly lit bus stop. What's happening?
Well, let's be straight. Have you ever been at a Greyhound bus
That's
station?
standard?
I don't know how unusual that is.
So he follows the blood trail into the ladies' bathroom. People are like, sir, excuse me, sir.
Again, I don't know how unusual that is at all aboard Greyhound.
So he gets in there and you hear there's a baby screaming. I'm like, no one noticed? Again, maybe it's just how they do at Greyhound.
There's probably at least 3 women in 3 stalls giving birth as we speak right now.
Good Lord. It's Paul Rudd. What you doing?
And newborns. It's true. When they're out, they're out. But when they're screaming, they're screaming.
Yes, that's how they do. And sweet. Yeah. So he rescues the baby. Oh Lord. I have notes that make no GD sense.
Well, since I basically have no notes, that all works out. I just have off-screen rape, and cult sex dungeon, and red scrubs.
Well, you're assuming it's off-screen rape. It could be kind of a Mackenzie Phillips, John Phillips, kind of quasi.
She did, as I said. She reached out for a little sugar, even though he had impaled her on the thresher. Come on, baby.
That is the most upsetting story in the world. If you're not familiar with the Mackenzie Phillips, John Phillips, father-daughter consensual love sessions, be thankful.
It's the power of
sweet
drugs.
Jesus. There's a scene.
Don't you remember our one of our sisters?
What?
Used to hang out with them. Yeah.
Say that again.
One of our sisters was, I believe, in the car with him. She was friends.
Oh, yes.
No, I wasn't saying one of our sisters was getting busy with John Phillips.
I didn't know if you were talking about incest. I was like, what is happening? This isn't the time or the place.
Okay. First of all, it wouldn't be incest unless there's yet another secret coming out of one of our grandparents'
Who's to say?
closets.
Yes, Brianna went to high school with one of the other Phillips children. Is basically.
I think it was
It was Bijou Phillips. That's correct. Anywho, we have a very interesting storyline there, but
we're very interested.
as you might imagine. So there is the wife who lives in the Myers house. And there's a scene where she's kind of, hearing noises, what's going on. And Dr. Loomis just appears behind her and touches her on the shoulder. Hello, oh, I'm sorry, did I scare you? I'm Dr. Loomis. And the next...
Yeah, that would have scared the crap out of me. Creepy old Donald Pleasance, drunk as a lord, groping me in my own house.
How about knock on the door, jackass? She's never met you before.
I don't know you.
Forgive me, I just let myself in. We've never met. You've never even heard my name before. You don't know who I could be. It's like, really? This is, again, not the bus station, this woman's house. Sweet Jesus. And then, of course, she is later murdered by Michael Myers because she gets lost amongst her sheets hanging up on the clothesline.
Oh, my God.
She's...
God. And who's what is this, Europe? Who's in America is hanging their clothes on a line?
That's the only way to get them April fresh. Okay.
Oh my God.
Murder fresh. Good Lord. And Paul Rudd, and I guess were they supposed to be? They were supposed to be in college, right? Because it was too weird to be high school. He lives in a boarding house across the street, Minnie Blankenship's boarding house, and I couldn't.
Minnie. Is this Rosemary Baby?
Something like
reference?
that. Where it was like, is she a zombie? Or because there were scenes of her just wandering the hallways. Where people are screaming in their bedrooms. It's just like, at one point they do say, it's like, I could drive a truck through her living room and she wouldn't even notice.
Well, later on, of course, it's revealed she's all part of the greater Democratic baby-eating conspiracy.
Again, this isn't in the text. We think it's kind of subtext, if you will.
It's clearly all secret messages from Q.
God damn it. I wrote down placental fluid. Do you have any idea what that reference is to?
Oh, for a minute I thought it was placental tea, but that was actually, I just finished watching the 3rd season of You.
God.
And there were some placental tea references. I'm not sure about placenta fluid. Is that when they Rudd smashed in Michael's head and weird sauce came out? Was that placenta?
No, I think they saved some placental fluid when Jamie Lloyd gave birth at the beginning, but then later, like, the evil...
What, to do shots? I
think it was the evil psychiatrist pulled out a vial of placental fluid for reasons that are not fully explained. Jesus, this ain't no sipping tea.
This ain't no sipping tea.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I think this is the most disjointed podcast we've ever done. And that fits perfectly with the movie because it is literally one of the most disjointed movies that we've had to just claw our way through.
I mean, literally, some of the notes are, what does Michael want? What does the cult want? Why is Danny?
He wants some of that good
Why
sugar.
is Danny under the curse? There was like a list. It's like, what does this mean?
And every time I hear the name Danny in a horror movie, I'm assuming he's direct from The Shining, right?
Ain't no
Red Rum, Red Rum.
Yeah, that's pretty standard. So the Loveline DJ leaves because they're throwing a big like Halloween party on campus.
Let's just call him
Dr. Drew angrily leaves the party or the festival or whatever it is and walks to the parking lot and sits in his car, and Michael promptly murders him. Why? Michael was hanging around the Myers house and he's like, hang on, I'm going to go hit the college campus 10 miles away.
Because I'll tell you why, because Dr. Drew would not let him into the new episode of Celebrity Rehab.
It makes as much sense as any other. Because it was literally like, one of those things where it's like, we've introduced this character and we have to kill him. But there's really no reason why Michael would be like, I'm going to just swing by the campus and see if there's anybody I can murder. Just, I got to spare 5 minutes and hang him up in a tree, like with Christmas lights for some bizarre reason.
And we never need in American Graffiti, we never meet Wolfman Jack. So we don't ever need to meet Dr. Drew from Halloween. He didn't need to be
Right.
there. He didn't need to die. It made no is he part is he Q?
Well, I
don't
think
know.
is
It
he
didn't
cute?
matter.
Basically, they say, at one point they say, "Hey, I'm gonna go and record live from the Myers house." So, I mean, I guess that could be something, but at the same time, you're kind of like, why not wait till he gets there? And then Michaels just happens to be there and goes, "Oh, here's somebody else I can pop." Right? Rather than I'm sitting in my van smoking a ciggy and Michael's just popping up from my back seat because that's just what he do.
Okay, we have a firm foundation that Michael Myers just kills indiscriminately.
That's
right?
correct.
That's like saying, I know that the terrorists are flying planes in the World Trade Center, so let's do a live shot from that, and we'll just sit here and.
Oh, I don't think they knew Michael was out and about at this point because they wouldn't be throwing a party, right? Or maybe they would. I don't know. Who's to say?
It made no sense to me.
Made no GD sense. Do you have any other thoughts and feelings you want to share before we move on?
Yeah. At one point, when the cult reveals themselves, we find out that Paul Rudd's hypnotize old grandma
Zombie Blankenship
is part. Zombie Blankenship is actually part of Thorn. Isn't that one of like the Marvel?
Yes, that's exactly right.
There's like Thorn. I don't know. Anyway, that doesn't matter. There's that. All the cult people, all the prominent people are in his living room in reverse Klan outfits. You got the fake Bill Gates. You got the Goldman Sachs people there, all dressed in their black outfits, and the 40-year-old high school mother of the emo autistic kid comes jumping out the window. Just jumps out the window of a second story and just lays there half dead. Why was that?
Well, considering that then she wakes up at the cult's headquarters anyway, why not go quietly? If the choice is I jump out the window, risk death, and just crash onto the lawn below, good times.
Or open the window and climb up on the roof. I don't know. I'm not even sure you can jump through a window.
It would take a lot. Yeah, it would take a lot. I mean?
Yeah. It would have to be such a force that you're breaking through not only the glass but the frame.
Through the frame.
I mean, come on.
There's a.
It was so ridiculous.
It's a GD nightmare. It is literally. If you guys are sitting there confused, yes, so are we. Keep in mind that we're falling asleep 5 times as we're watching this, which only makes it more interesting. Good Lord.
And when you say Michael Myers sex cult, you think that would wake you up? Okay, let's see what's going on here.
Well, to be honest, no one ever utters those words, so maybe that's the issue.
I literally, that's my note says Halloween 6, Michael Myers baby, cult sex dungeon, off-screen rape, Michael rapes his niece. He's so untamed that he's everything I've ever wanted. Woo. These are my notes.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Shall we hit behind the scenes?
Oh my God, we should have hit behind the scenes 20 minutes ago.
This is Paul Rudd's film debut. It was filmed before Clueless, which came out later the same year, and thankfully saved him in a way, because otherwise... Because Clueless, he was able to do other things based upon that.
He was still cute as a button, though.
Oh, and you could tell he's still got that Paul Rudd quality.
Right.
I mean, it's early Rudd, make no mistake, so it's a little peculiar, but he still got that charisma, which we all appreciate.
But honestly, when the shit's going down, you don't wish you had Paul Rudd with you.
That is true. Okay, behind the scenes. Most of the cast and crew disowned this movie. They stated that the studio, producers, and director interfered and argued to the point of ridiculousness.
Yeah. You still cash your checks. Blah, blah.
They absolutely cashed it. The producers of the movie wanted Brian Andrews, who actually played Tommy Doyle in the original movie, to reprise his role.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was like the younger brother of VC Andrews.
They went back to VC and said, hey.
It all comes back.
That's right. Do you have an inbred cousin that you can recommend for this movie?
A troglodytic.
Something from the Hills Have Eyes cast, perhaps? Good Lord. But that actor no longer had an agent, and they couldn't find him.
He
So
disappeared.
he said, I'm out of here. Let's see. Danielle Harris, who played Jamie Lloyd in Return of Michael Myers and Revenge of Michael Myers, she wanted to come back, but she wanted $5,000 to reprise her role.
Which is
And the
not
reason-
very much money in movie land.
Not that much. So initially they had kind of said, okay, but she had to emancipate herself from her parents in order to do this.
Oh my God.
For some reason, because she was only 17 at the time.
And her parents said, no, thank you.
For whatever reason. So she went through the process of getting emancipated, and then they wouldn't pay her. So it was like they were going to pay her like not
Half
enough
of
to
that
cover the
would've-
cost.
Yeah, half of that would have been for the court.
Right. So that's basically what it was. Basically, she would have taken a loss on doing this movie. So they
my
just
God.
recast it and decided just to murder her anyway, which is what they did. It's a sad situation.
Lord.
It's a sad
Sad
situation.
You, Mom and Dad. I'm just going to emancipate myself. I'll show you. And the
I'll
parent-
fix
and
your
the-
wagon.
And the parents are all,
Little did you know.
I'll put a bunk. You want to come back? I got a bunk bed in the garage for you now.
The original title of the movie was Halloween 666, The Origin of Michael Myers,
Well, that's
and then became Halloween 6 and finally just Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers.
Halloween, the infected thorn.
That is correct. Donald Pleasance was literally dying during the course of this movie and was all set to come back for the reshoots, but died. And wasn't able, which is, if you look at his performance, he's very like sickly and weak. His whole performance. Yeah, Michael is on the loose. And to make matters, sadly, the director of the movie, Joe Chappelle, basically cut most of his scenes because he found him boring. So his last movie, they cut him out of most of it.
That's what you get when you're boring.
It's a sad situation. So the original writer says both versions, the producer's cut and the theatrical cut, are bad, but he would prefer the producer's cut because at least there's a coherent narrative locked it within.
Oh,
So
Jesus.
there you go. Sweet
That's
Jesus.
too much time. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. And they should have folded.
I agree. No question. Yeah, the film was mostly shot in Salt Lake City. So there you go. Has that good.
Not in.
Salt-
They didn't have that Pasadena money like the first one.
They did not, sadly. Deborah and John Strode, who own the Myers house in this movie, are named after John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, the original director and producer of the original movie.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah. According to Danielle Harris, audiences were booing in the theaters when her mother went to see the film. Wah, wah, wah. So I think that's about it. Anything else?
You got to do the cast.
Yeah, let's talk about the cast.
Who
Are
is
you
the
ready?
mom? Who is the mom? Because I kept looking at her. I'm like, I know this crazy lady.
Well, okay.
She's playing older too. She's playing older, right?
Are you talking about Kara Strode or are you talking about Jamie Lloyd?
I don't know.
Donald Pleasance, of course, was Dr. Loomis.
Okay, let me just
Go
tell
ahead.
you this. I was watching the movies that made us, and they were talking about him.
I watched that too. It's great.
He's just drunk the whole time. They're like, he's never going to be able to make it through his lines. And this is Halloween 1.
Yes.
What they're talking about. He's like drinking bottles and bottles of wine. They're like, oh, we've made a terrible mistake.
Well, he was doing like publicity for the movie, talking trash
Yeah.
about it. Thanks a lot, Donald
Uh-huh.
Pleasance. His first two movies are Halloween 2 and Halloween, and then it's You Only Live Twice, the James Bond movie. He was Blofeld.
Right?
And he was in The Great Escape with Steve McQueen and the gang.
Right. That's how he got this job from like The Great Escape. They're like, oh, he's going to lend an air of credibility. He's British,
Right.
he has such a screen presence.
Well, as you know, they wanted Christopher Lee to play the part of Dr. Loomis, and Christopher Lee turned it down. Now, in this movie, when they wanted to cast the man in black who rescued Michael Myers from the previous movie, who's revealed to be the psychiatrist from the first movie, basically,
Right.
they wanted Christopher Lee to play that role.
And he said,
In the-
"F you.
He said, "Helps is the no."
If I didn't want to be in the good one, why would I want to be in the shittiest one?" He's like, "I was in Star Wars, you fools."
All right, he said, "I will be in Star Wars in about 5 years."
He sensed it. He had the longest career of anybody, I'm telling you.
Oh, dynamite.
Yeah.
Dynamite. Instead, they hired Mitchell Ryan, who was the villain from Lethal Weapon.
Whatever.
So, good times. He was also in Grosse Point Blank, Liar, Liar.
I love
other things.
Grosse Point Blank. Mostly for the soundtrack, though.
Marianne Hagen played Kara Strode, which is the primary female character.
Right. So how do I know her from?
She's got one of those faces, because you're right. I saw her and she looked familiar to me, and then I looked at her stuff and I'm like, I have no idea what any of these things are.
Surprise me. Give me a couple.
There you go. She was in Halloween, Curse of Michael Myers.
Oh.
Shocking. She was in something called Stakeland in 2010.
No.
She was in something called I Think I Do in
No.
1997.
Oh, Jesus.
And she played multiple roles in Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Oh, maybe it's that. That's only been on for 57 years. What was her name? Let me look her up.
Her name is Marianne Hagen. She was in 2 episodes playing 2 different characters. She was Mrs. Sellers in 2002 and Erin Sena in 2005. You know her, don't you?
Homie, don't you know me?
No, we don't. But you're right. She has one of those faces that makes her look very familiar.
I'm thinking, is that Mrs. Cunningham?
That's it. I don't know if I even need to talk about anybody else because it's a bunch of randos. No offense, guys. But like we said, they actually had 2 different actors playing Michael Myers. The one who played it through most of the movie and the one who did it during the reshoots for some crazy reason.
Oh my God. According to this, she's right now, she's 2 years younger than me.
So we're talking 25 years ago.
Can you see these pictures?
Yeah. The audience who's listening to a podcast cannot see those pictures, though. Wah, wah. Let's talk about the rating. Are you ready?
Hang on. No. I'm still looking up her stuff. I feel like I do know her, but
I'm telling you do not.
You're right. You are not wrong. Some of these movies don't even have a picture next to them.
That tells you something.
Including the Michael Myers one.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
All right.
The ratings right now. Halloween, Curse of Michael Myers from 1995. The one thing that's good about this movie is it's only an hour and 28 minutes. So
and still, I couldn't stay awake that long.
88 minutes. That's all you need. It is currently 9% rotten on the tomato meter. The audiences were a little more forgiving. They gave it 37%. So that's helpful.
Oh.
I want to take a look and see if there's any. I'm looking at top critics on Rotten Tomatoes, but I don't recognize these names. But I think I do. I recognize the publications, if that's helpful. The Seattle Times gave it 1.5 out of 4. Something called Time Out said slicker than crude oil and just as unattractive.
Time Out is like all those magazines for the various cities that you pick up to see what's going on in the town. You know what I'm talking about? Time Out New York, Time Out London. No.
LA Times says,
she was on Who's the Boss and Major Dad. I'm sure that's what you remember her friend. And Friends.
How many episodes? If they're on it 1 episode, that ain't going to get it done.
It's literally, she did 1 episode of every TV show that was ever invented in the world.
Perfect.
So there.
Jack Matthews from the LA Times says, enough of this Michael Myers BS, says a disgruntled Haddonfielder as news spread of the returning native son. Dream on. 0 out of 4, 0 out of 4, 0 out of 5. Yeah, people were not. And again, I know people, not many, but I know people who think that the producer's cut is watchable.
That is tragic. That's tragic. Not good, but at least your eyes don't turn to powder.
That's exactly like Lot's wife. Exactly. Go give us your rating.
I am going to give it 0 out of 5 sensual caresses from Michael Myers.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it 0 out of 5 poor drunken truckers in the rain. 0 out of 5. It is literally, it's just unintelligible.
No.
It is.
It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time.
It's a total waste of time. Well, it's like the first 2/3 is kind of, this seems vaguely familiar. There are some questions, but okay, standard Michael Myers killing people, kind of fair.
Right.
When it comes time to wrap up the mysteries, it makes no sense. It makes less than no sense. It's ridiculous. So there you go.
I think everybody was on cocaine associated with this.
If only I was as well. You know what I mean? At this stage of the game. Sad situation. Next week, we're going to be doing the classic, well, maybe that's overstating it, the Helen Mirren film, Winchester.
I think saying film is overly optimistic.
The movie. The flick, Winchester, playing the famous Winchester heiress and her Winchester mystery house, and there's ghosts and things like that. So get ready to check that out. You can find Winchester on many different places.
At the end of the kiosk at Walmart, in one of those big tubs with all the marked down movies, that's where you'll find it.
That's where you should find it.
Dig down to the bottom, with all the other direct to video movies. Not Elmo, but Mimo. Looks like Elmo. It's red. It has googly eyes, but something doesn't seem right about it. So right under that one is where you'll find this. And Donald Trump for Children, that cartoon.
Right, that is exactly good. It's also on Netflix, in case you don't want to do that. So good times, sweet Jesus. Thank you very much. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Aaron, are we on Insta?
We are on the Insta. Believe it or not, The Podcast That Wouldn't Die on the Insta.
With extra underscores for your pleasure. You can also email us at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die at Gmail. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods. Check us out there as well. Good times. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, rate, and review, for goodness sakes.
5 stars, my friends. 5 stars only. And send us gifts on from Amazon for sure. I have a wish list.
Oh, I'm sure. Very good. And Aaron, you're also on the social media. What's the word?
I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. And I'm on the Twitski, if you giza. It's Queen Aaron.
So check that out. No personal messages to Queen Aaron. She does not appreciate it.
I do not appreciate. If you can't say it over Twitter, probably don't need to say it to me directly.
If it's too secret to say out loud, just keep it in your mind. How about that?
Keep it in your pants too.
And go to confession.
There you go. Repent.
Please do.
Shame.
Sweet Jesus. So thank you very much and be well.
Peace, babies.